All right, Dan. So we've talked about dating, online dating, all that stuff before, and you keep referencing that I have to start treating the apps like real life.
Yeah.
And for me, it's hard to understand because one, you're looking at your phone, and two, you're on an app.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
So, okay. So I would start thinking of it like you work remotely, right?
I do.
So you've very obviously been on plenty of Google Meets, Zooms,
Yep.
Microsoft Teams, whatever it is. And you treat that like you treat it like you're there with the person, right? Now, of course, you've got the video, so you are able to talk to the person, which makes it a little bit more personable. But nonetheless, it's a virtual setting where you're treating it like it's real life,
Hmm.
right? I'm not saying that you got to be dressed up. I'm not saying that you got to be like everything around you doesn't have to be like perfectly clean and all that stuff. But in terms of the way you're treating the person, you're treating them as though they were there with you. Um, I would take that just one step back with the same philosophy and start treating Hinge as though you were maybe on a Zoom call,
Hmm.
maybe on a FaceTime with family you hadn't seen over the course of 2020, 2021. And imagine what you would say. Imagine what you would say to somebody uh, if you were seeing them for the first time. You'd be like, "Hi, how are you?" You might even introduce yourself. You might, if it's someone who you're really close with, who you're trying to just like create a connection with off the bat, you might be like, you might say something that is like an inside joke with your family or an inside joke with your friend who you haven't talked to in a while, right? Um, yes, it's virtual, but it's still personal. And the way that I like to think about it is how can I make my first interaction with this person as personal as possible, as quickly as possible? Because I mean, we talked about this in a previous video, the idea of like Bumble and girls wanting to feel safe so they don't reach out, so they can be the one that reaches out to guys, right?
Hmm.
And so much of safety just has to do with comfort. It's not literally safety. There's risk to everything, right? Like if a girl sees a guy and he looks creepy and he's acting creepy, she's going to feel safe or she's going to feel like she's in danger, especially if she's isolated.
Hmm.
But if you're just like a normal guy at a bar, or you're just a normal guy reaching out to her on a dating app, she's not going to feel threatened unless you give her a reason to feel threatened. So, how can you completely eliminate that? You can reach out with the most personal message possible to show her that you are really interested, that you put in the effort to figure out what to say to her, and that you're making sense of the interaction that you're having right now. And I think that making sense of that interaction is what translates into game in real life when you're talking to somebody, right? So, um, like when you approach somebody on the street, you're not just going to approach them and go, "Hi." Like that's not what you're
Yeah.
going to do. You're going to approach them and you're going to say something that makes sense. Whether it's a girl on the beach and you want to comment on the book she's reading, whether it's a song you overheard, or maybe you're at the gym and you saw somebody dancing and you like tap them and you're just like, you're not going to be able to, like, I'm not going to let you dance and not tell me what music you're listening to. Like little lines like that where you're making it make sense. You're not just tapping them on the shoulder and being like, hello.
Hmm.
So I think one of the terms I've used with you is people see the dating apps as a matchmaking service. I don't see it as a matchmaking service. I see it as this virtual world where we're picking and choosing who we want to approach and create a connection with. And I think that's the essence of how I treat the apps and why I have so much success with them.
Okay. Now, were you always in that mindset, or is this almost like a skill you had to discover and then develop?
Both. So the reason I say that is I haven't always had that mindset, but I think my my success and the success that people have pointed out to me, obviously, it's come from the fact that I think I am a very naturally extroverted, creative thinking kind of guy.
Hmm.
So I also talk to a lot of people, as you're aware.
You do,
I'll just strike
like a
up.
lot,
Yeah, I mean, we went out
like
to
a
dinner.
lot.
Yeah, we went we went out to dinner uh, last week, and bartenders serving us, and I just decided to start a conversation with the bartender. Just
Mm.
didn't. Nothing. Just started a conversation. Not everybody does that. Not everybody comfortable doing that. Not everybody wants to do that, and that's totally fine. Um, but I think that natural tendency of mine led me to be more like articulate and wordy and creative in the way I would reach out to girls originally. Uh, Actually, funny enough, the I used to use the same line as an opener on Tinder way back in the day, like probably like 9 years ago at this point.
Okay.
I used to reach out to girls and I'd be like, I would say wow instead of hi or hello. And wow would usually get a response because it wasn't just hi or hey or what's up. They'd be like, wow, what? Or they'd be like, oh, he's complimenting me. And then I'd say something like, uh, so you obviously are very attractive. That's why I said wow. But do you want to do the real compatibility test? And one thing I learned is bitches love tests. Bitches
Mhm.
love quizzes, right?
Okay.
It's like the BuzzFeed syndrome. And I would throw out, and I don't do this anymore because it's just way too time consuming, and especially with the way that girls have the notifications off, they're not responding as quickly. But I used to say, um, we need to match on our favorite meal of the day, favorite instrument, and favorite Disney princess. Otherwise, this just isn't going to work. And usually girls would answer me. And depending on the answers, I could take it in the direction of like, yeah, I love cooking this meal. Oh, you cook? Or I love the guitar because I play. You play guitar? Um, I've always been more of a Jasmine guy. Like he loves Disney. Like there's just so many different ways. And the Disney one I've already talked to you. It's just you can get humor and comedy out of it.
Mhm.
Um, but as I've grown and as I've sort of matured with the way that I use the apps, I've learned that you don't need to be as like overt, like you're playing a game with them. You just need to put in effort to make them feel comfortable and intrigued. So I think that that's one of the big reasons why I give this advice. It's one of the kind of the essence of what I've been talking to you about, and that I think you've had some success with is just you know, being able to think about this like it's a truly personal interaction that you're looking to get some value out of. Like if you saw a girl out in public, you would be nervous to go up and approach her. Like I'm
Mhm.
nervous approaching girls. Like I know you see me do it a lot, but I'm very nervous. Like when I get a girl's number in the wild, like it's still exhilarating. It's
Mhm.
very exhilarating. Like I earned that. I got a girl to give me her number. That's a huge deal. If you go into the app conversations with that same level of, oh, like, what do I say? What do I say? Trust me, that mindset plus the fact that you can literally make your opener perfect because you have the virtual time to do it, it's going to net you better outcomes because you're putting in so much thought and you're making her feel so seen that she's going to be like, I have to respond to this.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the philosophy, and having that philosophy, you don't have to be verbose and wordy and creative. You just need to be interested in the girl. And that's why it can apply to both people who are flamboyantly extroverted like me and people who are like quietly confident and introverted like you. We both have our charm, but when it comes to the first interaction, we've got to do something to get their attention. And you might as well take advantage of all the time you have and the information they're giving you to create that perfect opener.
All right.
So,
Very insightful.
yeah.